Hi everyone, this is Denise Sutton reporting for Can We Talk Television, and I'm here in the studio and I have two special guests, one all the way from Chicago and the other one all the way from Virginia Beach, Virginia. I would like to invite and welcome Vanessa Canteberry and Danielle White of Dynamic Divas. Welcome to Can We Talk, ladies.
Thank you for
Well,
having us.
So I just want to start this conversation. Vanessa Canteberry is the author of a wonderful book called Breaking the Cycle of Brokenness. And she birthed this book out of her own experience. So it's a form of her testimony. And she talks about her children and how she had to dig deep and go to her past to figure out what was causing what was going on right then and there. Danielle White is the founder, the CEO of Dynamic Divas. And Dynamic Divas deals with empowering women and young women as well as older women in regards to education, self-esteem issues, things of that nature. And I'd like to welcome you both. This is going to be an awesome interview. I just want you both to share about what you do. And let's start off with Danielle. Danielle, could you tell us a little bit about Dynamic Divas?
what I can tell you about the Divas is it's definitely a sisterhood.
Yes.
And it's a sisterhood that is through life's transitions, because each individual represents a certain time or a certain place or a certain generation in life that affects the next one. So as it says, someone's past affects someone's future.
Yes.
If we start the conversation and talk about our life's experiences as it moves forward with our young ladies today, to stop objectifying them in media and to celebrate them in society and the communities, because they are the nucleus of how families are started.
Breaking the Cycle of Brokenness. And she wrote this book. But Vanessa, when you wrote this book and I started reading it, it was such a life-changing event for me as I read it. And you talk about, you give certain things clues because you have children. And you wrote this book to actually help your children.
Yes.
Could you tell us about SEEDS? Your acronym
Seeds.
SEEDS.
Well, I had to really take a reality look at the history of where I come from and the patterns that continue to happen. And I did not want to be attached to those patterns. And so I needed some type of direction to be able to break this cycle and not pass the same hurt and pain that I experienced. I don't want my children to experience that. So I need to do some work on me, but I need some help. And I know there's the power of prayer. And so I turned around and I started to pray just to be able to break the cycle and to be able to break those broken pieces that I have within me, so I could be able to bless and start with myself, but at the same time, it could be able to be passed on to my children. And so that really took place, and it was absolutely amazing. But at the same time, it's a blessing and a curse. And so I never thought that prayer would turn around to be a book. But it took for me to go through a transition in my life where I lost my job. And when I lost my job, I had to now rebuild myself again, right? So I broke that cycle with the prayer, but now I have to be able to break this cycle to be able to go to what do I do next after losing my job, after not being able to find a job for 2 years, but I have 20 years experience in the corporate world. What do you do from there? And so as I had that moment to sit and be still and get to know what's next for me for 2 years, I was able to just allow myself to say, Vanessa, you have to surrender. You have to let this thing go, right? And so I allow myself to let that go and surrender so God could be able to direct my path. I never thought that I will be able to be in business for myself. And I'm celebrating 6 years of being laid off, 4 years working for myself. And so even though I started just in business of having a home-based business for a totally different direction, it allowed me to be able to, journal the pain that I was feeling, right? The pain that I was feeling. And so it turns around, and now that I have this home-based business, This book that I've been holding on for so long, it allowed me to birth a book before Breaking the Cycle of Brokenness. So Breaking the Cycle of Brokenness is my second book. And so I never knew that I would go from unemployed to having a successful home-based business. I never thought that. But that's what happens when you be still and you surrender. So I was able to take those seeds and plant amazing seeds for my children because I had allowed God to plant the seeds into me.
Amen. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm still reading the book, but I do plan on finishing it. But when you talked about your experience as a child and you going from home to home and you know, moving all around, and that really grabbed me. That really grabbed, because there's so many women who were first girl children who went through certain experiences, and they've allowed that to play, like Danielle was saying, into their adulthood. They bring that stuff in. And like you're saying, you have to deal with the brokenness first in order to go forward, because we have a legacy that we have to leave our children. Now, who wants to expound on that?
Vanessa, first, let me commend you, because you are a breath of fresh air. And when you speak of seeds, I just launched my next workshop, which is the Seeds of Greatness from Within. And I'm writing the biblical term of that to understand that what we plant, we must harvest and cultivate so that it will be bountiful and sustainable to all those that we meet. So, girl, if I was there with you, I'd get a hug right now. You understand? And I get very warm and passionate when I hear other women say we recognize there are things that we need to change and stop the same mindset and thought pattern, so that these young ladies, first, when they look in the mirror, they're not looking to change the outside of them. They're looking to rebuild and renew the inside of them. They need to love themselves and then expect to be loved by the people around, just as the way they love themselves. And it's so frightening that when you look at some of these young girls, they're beautiful on the outside, but in their eyes, they're lost. And if I can't give anything to anyone, when I put my presence on you, I want you to understand that I was you many moons ago. And there will be someone that you are going to see, that you're going to have to touch and be able to give all of yourself unconditionally, for them to understand that you're not the only one. We are great chroniclers. We are great philosophers. We are great educators. And these young ladies need to understand that our past makes us that. And our strength is our words and actions. So I commend you, Miss Vanessa. You got to come here and visit me.
We're going to have to make that happen. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. But at the same time, what's on that surface, people want to be able to deal with what's on the surface, but don't want to get to the root.
The root, right. Because the root is painful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
dark. Like you said in your book, you're going to cry.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to scream, you're going to cry, you're going to go through all forms of emotion. But at the end of all of that, and you are able to let it go, let go and let God. It's simple as that. You got to let it go, because you went through it for a purpose, so that you can get to your destiny.
Well, I'm a believer that there's pain in your purpose.
There is pain in your purpose.
There is pain in your purpose, but if too many people quit and they don't want to go through the pain because they don't like the way it's feeling right now. They feel that it's lasting a little bit too long, but it's happening for a long length of period of time because you probably didn't get it the first time, maybe even the second time. But if you turn around and just be sitting still, so you can be able to understand and to adjust what you're feeling right now, so you can be able to move forward. You have to go through that process. There's no skipping steps in order for you to heal.
Right. You're absolutely right.
That's
a toddler has to learn how to walk. That's right. And I think also not only a healing process, but it's an engaging process too, because you have to engage yourself to want to say, I have to go through this pain to get to the promise. And I keep telling everyone, the promises are the 5 promises that God gives you, but He tells you you're going to have to walk this walk, and you're going to have to do your homework. And I tell everyone, you got to come up on the comeback when you want to make sure you're walking the right way. Don't sit here and glamorize the pain in the sense of it being a surface or profit, but glamorize the pain because it's internally in you, and you need to expound that and let that out so that you can be pain-free. But your thoughts can be positive, your actions can be fruitful, and your motivations can be clear and have clarity in them. And people say all the time, well, women are not like that. We're emotional creatures. We're emotional because we've been taught for so long, hold the pain in. Yeah. Women are supposed to be strong. We're not supposed to let emotion out. You know, and there's nothing wrong. I tell them all the time, if you got on good mascara, well, baby, let the cry out. Ain't nobody got to know. That you and your body having that conversation.
Right.
I said, if you can find a comfortability factor in yourself and knowing that you can be vulnerable at times and be able to communicate the vulnerability or what you're feeling, it makes you a stronger person.
Yes.
But don't hold it in, because then we become emotional. Then, of course, you know, we get labeled aggressive. Then we get labeled, you know, we don't other names that they can think of. Instead of saying we're taking our emotions and we're not directing them in the right place. And I think journaling is something that's probably the most productive thing that any young lady can do. Every event that I have, I give a journal to each young lady, and I personally write something in the journal to let them know that these are your thoughts. These are your words. Go back and revisit them. When you find yourself at that place, why are you there? And how do you move yourself from there? And also look for the satisfaction in knowing that you're not the only person faced with this. Exactly. Tell them all the time, do you think Beyonce got up and said to herself she was going to be the person she was? She has pains, but she knows how to have it protected so that we don't see her vulnerability. Right. We see the lash of it and the perfect body and the perfect sound and all that. But she has pain. We just don't see it. So let's be intimate and show.
I love that. I love what you said. And I also believe it is a process. And it has helped me with journaling. When I was going through certain things in my life, journaling helped me to deal with anger, to deal with emotional abuse, to deal with all sorts of things. Journaling really helps. It lets you get out the anger and the frustration, you know, and as women, we must deal with that. We must. But I thank you both for this conversation. I love where this is going. Women of God, thank you so much for being on Can We Talk Television. As we always say on Can We Talk Television, never fear, because Jesus is near and you are blessed.